softball, kind of, maybe the Pat Summitt of softball, and she's been able to coach even longer than Coach Summitt did, and continue to build this. And she's got the best team she's ever had over the last 4 years, 5 years. She's taken this to a totally new level.
Well, and she's really seen, when we talked to her earlier this week, she really talked about, early in her career, if they had 200 people at a game, that she was excited about that. And now you look out at these crowds, and you have stadiums selling out for these softball games. She mentioned at her new stadium, they're having, 4,500 people in their stadium, standing room only. You see the berm out there earlier when we started. It's just so impressive to see how this game has grown.
8-time national champions. The first one was in 2000. Since then, they've won the remaining 7 since 2013. Ground ball sent to second base by Agbayani and handled by Smith for the out. Also the runner-up in 2012 and 2019. So the last time they missed a Women's College World Series finals was in 2018, because of course 2020 is kind of a different story.
It's got to be rough to be that 2018 team now after this, this almost decade of dominance and how they've come in, and they've just, you expect to see them at the World Series.
There's Florida State in 18. Who won the national championship. UCLA then won it in 19 over Oklahoma. And nobody else has won it since. Emmerling takes down 2-0.
Well, and where you've seen McCann be the most successful in these first, inning and 1 out is when she's getting ahead of the hitters. When she gets behind the hitters, she's going to have to miss right over the plate, and that is dangerous with OU.
Walker called off by Smith, who makes this tumbling catch. Just snow-coned it in the edge of the webbing, fighting the wind, fighting the sun in shallow right. Mizzou baseball is home tonight as well. They're getting underway in about 40 minutes against Ole Miss. And Taylor Stadium, and Oklahoma fans might not remember from the Big 12 days, probably the windiest place in all of Columbia, up on top of a hill. If that's how much the wind is affecting a pop-up here, I can only imagine.
Well, in Taylor Stadium, that wind could be blowing out to right and on one pitch, and the very next pitch be blowing out to left, and you're just never going to know. And you're getting a little bit of that here tonight with how crazy the wind is. That's hard for outfielders, but really hard for those high fly balls.
If they tracked dropped pop-ups, on or within 10 or 20 feet of the infield, Mizzou would definitely lead the country in every year in baseball. Not necessarily because they're way worse at catching pop-ups. That just the wind is brutal on those guys. Foul back by Barker, 1-2.
It is brutal. I think at some points you can look to the outfield and you can have the ball, you have flags blowing out to left field and blowing out to right field at the exact same time.
Yeah, you look out across the SEC flags span from basically straightaway right to straightaway left. They're a little ways away from each other, and you'd really never know. 13th start of the year for the true freshman Barker. And she takes strike 3 called over the outside. So McCann, after giving up the 3-run homer to Garcia in the first, bounces back with a 1-2-3 inning in the second, giving her bats a chance to get going. Taylor Ebbs, 1 away.
Well, and part of that can be intimidating for a team to face. And when we talked to Coach Anderson earlier this week, she mentioned that they kind of have to just embrace it. They have to embrace that competitiveness and really just kind of go into it. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So you can't be intimidated by who they are and what they do, being this 4-peat college, world champion. They really have to just embrace it. And the game doesn't care if you've won 4 or 5 national championships in a row. The game doesn't care.
30 straight wins for the Sooners going back to last season. Stefania Abrascato takes the ball, 1-1. That was a 9-3 defeat against Florida on June 3rd of last year in Oklahoma City. Of course, OU, on top of everything else, also owns the Division I winning streak record, a mark they shattered. Won 71 games in a row from February 2023 to March of last season. 14 of their 27 wins this year have been run rules, including a few no-hitters. One of them on Wednesday against East Texas A&M, an 8-0 5-inning victory. 1-2 from Landry. Wave and a miss by Abriscato. 5 up and 5 down for the Oklahoma right-hander, who has 3 strikeouts.
Speed pitch is really going to throw them off.
Strike to Madison Updegrove, true freshman from here in Columbia. 264 with a couple of home runs to start her college career. And kindly for the local fans who wanted to see her, she waited until getting to the home part of Missouri's schedule to hit a couple of home runs in a 5-game stretch.
Wanted to make sure she had all of her fans in the stands, so to see that first college home run.
Slow tapper back to the mound. Landry retires Updegrove, and with her the side. 6 up and 6 down for Sam Landry with a trio of punch-outs. She and the Sooners in command after 2. Lower caliber of competition than what Mizzou faces in the SEC, and for that matter, what Mizzou faced in a really difficult non-conference. Dayton golfs one foul down the right side for a strike. But nonetheless, it's at least what Larissa Anderson would have wanted out of playing a slightly easier weekend, because she said to us, you know, if I had it to do over again, I would have made a much easier non-conference schedule. Maybe much is overstating it, but at least a couple more games that we feel confident about winning, just to not have to worry about the 500 cutoff for postseason eligibility. So that was an opportunity to kind of get right.
Right, and I think, you know, Mizzou has the number 4 hardest schedule in the nation. So when we talk to Coach Anderson, you obviously want to get your team ready for postseason play. But when you have a young team, when you have a pitching staff that hasn't been, you know, tested as much as they have in the past, you're missing your ace from the last season. That's a really hard thing to get those pitchers to go in and be successful. And then, you know, we saw it against that Kentucky series with Mizzou. They hit well enough to win those games, and their pitchers in the circle were not nearly as good as Coach Anderson needed them to be.
1-2 to Dayton. Another first-year Sooner. There are a number of transfers on this team because Oklahoma had to reload. Dayton spent the last 2 years at Utah, All-America last season, 431 average, OPS over 1,100. McCann's 2-2 delivery. Dayton to short, taken by Updegrove. Rocket throw from a sidearm slot, and Dayton retired. That almost took Madison Walker's glove into the dugout.
Almost took her foot off the bag as well. You can see Mizzou's had to shift up their defense with Abby Hay having to sit out this game, and moving Updegrove, who's been playing second base, over to shortstop, which is where she played in high school, but still it's just a little bit different of an angle for that throw. You know, Madison Walker has been playing third base, so just a little bit of a different look for both of them.
One away. McCann's retired 5 straight Sooners going back to that first inning, but Gabby Garcia made the most of the rally for OU with a 3-run homer. Should say 6 straight Sooners, actually, because there was 1 out at the time of the home run. Since then, 3 ground outs, a pop-up, and a couple of strikeouts for McCann. Macklemore Marinas had a singular first time. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. The redshirt freshman captain. McCann has settled in well, to be fair, after a start that could have easily shaken her up.
You see her using her, really relying on this off-speed pitch that she has, and kind of trying to keep these hitters off balance, so you don't want them sitting back on any of the pitches that you throw hard. Even with the break, it's still, there's such good hitters, such good hand-eye coordination, such a presence in the box that you're really going to have to rely on changing speeds to kind of throw them off.
2 balls, 2 strikes on McEnroe Marinas. Now a 10-game hitting streak for her after her first inning single. Off the end of the bat into shallow center. Langer coming on the dive, makes the catch. I suppose the first diving catch was, first of all, an infielder, and second of all, maybe less a great play and more a hang on for dear life for Sophie Smith. Still a good catch
Still
in the
a
end.
good catch. It's a lot harder than it looks out there with the wind and the sun. That sun is going to play some tricks on him as well.
Here's Cassidy Pickering, who struck out back in the first inning. Frustration growing a little bit with Scott Maher's strike zone.
See Coach Anderson talking to Crenshaw there, kind of like, you got to push that out, right? So trying to steal a couple strikes there. That ball was a little bit outside, but if Crenshaw can kind of get out around that ball and bring it back in, she can steal a few strikes from McCann.
Pickering golfs one into left. Out goes Updegrove, and the side is retired. A second straight 1-2-3 inning for McCann, who set down 8 in a row since a 3-run Oklahoma first. But she needs some help here. They still said, well, they knock her down to 3. Even that, it turned out, was disrespectful. Swing and a miss by Sophie Smith. Oklahoma, the only remaining unbeaten, 27-0. Have been some close shaves. Went to extra innings 3 times in the non-conference. San Diego State, Long Beach State on that first road trip out to California. And then against Bowling Green, the beginning of this month in the home opening weekend for the Sooners. And 5 of their 6 SEC runs so far have been decided by 3 runs or fewer, including 3 one-run victories over South Carolina in their first ever SEC series. Smith stays alive. Now, Landry didn't pitch in that series a couple of weekends ago against South Carolina, so you can understand why a couple of those games were 10-9.
Yeah, and I think that's why Coach Gasso was really looking at her pitchers, right? She needs them to be better in the circle, not give up a lot of walks, not give up those base runners. Because softball is now, they have big hitters. Every team has big hitters, right? So at any point, this ball can go out of the park. It's, it's a lot shorter. You got the wind blowing out. So if you put runners on, it just makes the offense so dangerous.
See Landry in the top 9 of the SEC in all of those categories. Those numbers have gone up. Well, not the ERA or the opponent batting average, but the strikeouts on the rise already. 1-2. Just missed inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Smith. 3 punch outs for Landry and 3 ground balls. Nothing has left the infield. Smith waves over. 4 strikeouts.
Throw you.
Haley Langer bunts back toward the circle. Bare hand Landry got her by a step. Big play for Sam Landry, who has not allowed a base runner yet. And she has 2 down in the 3rd.
Such an athletic play by Landry. Hopping off there. That's a tough, really tough to come out as a pitcher, right? You're off balance. She comes off, she gets that ball. If the third baseman has to field that, Landry's going to be safe.
Here's Claire Cahalan. Not moving her feet on the first pitch, takes a strike, and the crowd didn't like it. Do you like that little tongue waggle from Landry into catcher Emmerling? She's like, yeah, that was a pretty good play. Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
Bella, remember that time that you said I wasn't athletic enough getting out to field my position? Yeah, eat some of that.
Sometimes pitchers have to prove themselves, right? So, no one wants them to catch the fly ball. They're always getting called off out there. So to prove that, hey, I'm athletic, look at this. I can field this ball and throw her out.
Pat McAfee started doing the punters are people too thing.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little bit of that with pitchers. We don't talk about it in the same way because everybody views pitchers as really important as opposed to sort of peripheral in the way that punters are. But in terms of them being treated as kind of different than everyone else, I think that's maybe true here as well.
Well, we would always get a laugh out of it, right? We'd always make sure our pitcher wasn't going to field that fly ball. You know, you'd run in from the shortstop, or left fielder could run in and call her off because they didn't want her fielding that ball.
Yeah, I love when there's a pop-up caught like right on the pitching rubber.
Yes.
Literally exactly.
Where the pitcher was, where she started.
Which sometimes could be a difficult transition for high school seniors up to college freshmen, because high school seniors who pitch at this level were also the best at catching pop-ups in almost every case. Cahalan stays alive, 1-2.
Yeah.
Landry with another 1-2. Who was the weirdest pitcher you ever played with?
That is a
maybe
loaded,
dangerous, because you might be friends now. They become normal now post-playing, and so you don't want to offend them.
I always say pitchers aren't normal. That's okay. I pitched in high school, so I can claim that as well. But pitchers aren't normal. You have to have a different mindset. Look how close you are. You're throwing. By the time you let go of the ball, you're 35 feet away from a hitter who can hit a line drive right back at you. You got to be a little different, right? You got to have a little no fear going into the circle.
Especially in the case of Landry, rare pitcher not wearing a mask still in 2025. Time called. She seems to have just an enormous amount of confidence in the circle, too, as evidenced by a couple of pitches she would have really wanted in this inning. That last one included, and she just kind of gives that wry smile, takes her little walk around the circle.
That's a definite senior in the circle out there, right? She's got a lot of experience. She's got a lot of confidence in herself, and you have to have that as a pitcher. You can't have any doubt in your mind.
Payoff to Cahalan. To first, awkward for Sanders, race to the bag, Cahalan is safe. Missouri has its first base runner, maybe its first hit. Cahalan aboard with 2 down in the third.
Great at bat by Cahalan. She fouls off a couple pitches, really tough pitches, takes some balls that were just outside the zone. She has a lot of spin on this ball, which really led it to kick off her glove and allow.
Most official scorers will tell you they want the first hit to be clean, because you just never know, and certainly the way Sam Landry is pitching so far this evening, you never know. Here's Julia Crenshaw, who struck out on 3 pitches against Landry to open the home first. Crenshaw has been easily Missouri's best hitter this season. Leads in average, leads in OBP, leads in slugging. One. Outside corner, strike 2.
Landry doing a great job being effective with her changeup and being able to throw it for a strike. So it's not just a throwaway pitch to keep them off balance. She can also throw it for a strike.
Two and two. Crenshaw waits on it and rockets one into left. Cahalan into third. Cottrell gives her the stop sign. Crenshaw moves up behind into second. Missouri has its first hit and 2 in scoring position for Madison Walker.
Great piece of hitting by Crenshaw here. We saw in her first at-bat, out on 3 straight pitches, does a great job coming back in her second at-bat, making sure she gets a good pitch. She's looking for this off-speed pitch, takes it and drives it right down the left field line.
I think maybe that's part of the approach for Missouri hitters if they're feeling a little overwhelmed by Sam Landry the first time, that you just start to sit on a particular pitch or a particular speed or a particular location, something to narrow it down?
That's what they're going to have to do to be successful against her. She's such a good pitcher. She throws so many, like she throws a great break drop ball, she throws a great rise ball, and she's got this great changeup. So if you can sit on a changeup that she's going to throw into the zone, that's where they're going to see their most success.
Jennifer Rocha, the pitching coach, out to visit with Landry. First-year Sooner, who spent her first 3 years at Louisiana, entered the portal in late June because her head coach, Jerry Glasgow, departed for Texas Tech. And Oklahoma had a roster spot open in part because they were among the schools recruiting former Stanford ace and National Pitcher of the Year, Nigeri Kennedy, who ultimately committed to Glasgow at Texas Tech, where she's been fantastic again. But Landry has been at least comparably good for Oklahoma, especially because she's faced tougher competition than Kennedy has this year. Pitch is high for a ball. And it feels like Landry is starting to really establish herself, especially with last weekend in Fayetteville, as Oklahoma's ace. Maybe not going to be an ace who throws 15-plus innings every weekend, but a clear top option. Because it was a pretty even spread of innings among certainly the top few Oklahoma pitchers in the early going this year. Some of that was Landry's health.
Well, when we talked to Coach Gasso early in the week, she said, we're going to see Landry a lot. And then after that, it's really going to have to be on a case-by-case basis, right? So all hands on deck, really going to have to break down the Missouri lineup to see which pitcher is going to be best for them.
She said Landry could and would throw all weekend if she asked her, or maybe even if she just let her. But that's not the way that Patty Gasso wants to approach things anymore. Made that decision. Not going to ride one pitcher to that degree. 1-2 on Walker. 2 in scoring position. Walker back toward the middle. Tough play. Garcia on the move to retire the side and save the 0 for Sam Landry. Missouri puts 2 in scoring position but does not score. And Gabby Garcia, who's accounted for all 3 of the runs so far, will lead off in the 4th for Oklahoma.